All right, here's what I want to chat with you guys about today. And once again, every time that I jump on these calls, I want to give you information that you can apply to your business. And what I want to chat about today is kind of the bad rap that our industry gets. You know, I've run into people who go, oh, I've heard some bad things about network marketing. And I'm like, really? It's like, really? You know what I've heard bad things about, you guys? I've heard bad things about the healthcare industry. I've heard bad things about a lot of different professions. I've heard horrible things about the car industry. I've heard horrible things about politics. It's like, why would anybody want to get involved in politics? I've heard horrible things about the hotel industry. It's like, man, these hotels, the way they run their hotels and how dirty their rooms are. I've heard really, really bad things about a lot of different industries. And so I always laugh when somebody says, oh, the network marketing industry is like, well, I've heard some bad things about that. And I'm like, you can find and hear bad things about every profession. People outside of what we do, they kind of look at us as, oh, it's one of those pyramid schemes. It's a get-rich-quick scheme, or it's a scam. I'll tell you this, you guys. If somebody told me about a get-rich-quick scheme, I would do that in a second. And so would you. You're like, come on, you want to get rich fast? I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. That's why I buy lottery tickets, because I think that's a get-rich-quick scheme. You pick 6 numbers, and then you can get rich. I'm like, yeah, that's a get-rich-quick scheme. I have no problem with that whatsoever. So I always laugh when people say, oh, it's a get-rich-quick scheme. It's like, yeah, aren't you lucky I'm telling you about it? Okay. Well, unfortunately, this means, you guys, as you're out recruiting, you're going to run into skeptics. And when I tell you that, does it frighten you? Like today, you might run into a skeptic. Does that frighten you? And I'll tell you from my standpoint, it doesn't scare me at all. Because I dare people to tell me that this profession doesn't work. I dare people. And the reason that I can say that is because I've been doing it for 33 plus years, and we've had a little bit of success. Well, you can say the same thing. Because you can simply say, I don't care if you've been in the business for a week. You can say, yeah, but my business partner, Steve, has done this, that, and the other thing. I've known a bunch of people who've made a bunch of money in this thing. All right? So what do you say when your prospect, thinks it's a scam? What do you say to that person? You're talking to somebody about the business, and they go, oh, yeah, those things are scams. What do you actually say? Because when people say that to me, which I don't hear very often anymore, but when people say that to me, I get incredibly offended. I look at them and say, do you honestly think that I would get you involved in a scam? Do you really think that that's where our relationship has gone? That I'm going to get you involved in a scam? Right? It's like, well, how are you supposed to react when they speak negatively about our profession, and they think they know everything about it? How are you supposed to act? And I always say, it's like when people rip on what we do, they're just not educated about what we do. It's like, you don't even know what this is, and you're telling me that it's not going to work, and it's one of those deals. It's like, well, here's the sad part. I'm sorry to tell you guys that there's no way to avoid these people. Okay, you are going to run into skeptics eventually, but that doesn't mean that you have to be unprepared. All right, so there are 2 things to keep in mind when you're dealing with skeptics. All right, first of all, the way you approach skeptics can make a huge difference in how the conversation turns out. Remember, you are not there to convince anybody to do or believe in anything. Guys, you're there to educate people on the opportunity so that they can just understand what we do. So don't push your prospects to sign up or make them feel uncomfortable, because you're only going to drive that skeptic away, and really it's going to confirm their negative views of what we do. Also, don't be emotionally attached to the outcome. And I know that when you first get started and you're talking to people and they say no, it can feel like they're rejecting you. And nobody likes to feel rejected, but you have to learn that no is just a word. It doesn't matter if your prospect tells you yes or no. That's not important. The only thing that's important is that they come to understand what it is we do and the opportunity that you're presenting them. So it's really all about education, guys. So don't approach skeptics with a defensive attitude. As soon as somebody challenges you, don't come at them, all right? Approach them as a friend, a consultant, or, even as a teacher. Approach these skeptics with the mindset of educating them, and you're going to have a much better interaction. So, the question is, what do you actually do when you approach a skeptic? Here's the easy answer. You hold a conversation. You have a conversation with them. Guys, that's it. You simply have a conversation with them. There's no magic formula for converting skeptics or proving them wrong. All you have to do is just have a conversation with them. Oftentimes skeptics have had some sort of negative experience in our industry. And that's why they feel the way that they feel. They've known someone who's joined with no success, or they've tried, something in the industry and it didn't really pay off, or maybe they've just heard stories or read articles. Well, you guys, I guarantee you this. Pick an industry and Google it today and see the negativity that pops up online, right? I have a love-hate relationship with social media and the World Wide Web because it just spews lies. And you have to decipher what's true and what's not true. But every single industry can be dragged through the mud. It's like, well, I work for the oil industry. Well, yeah, I've heard horrible things about the oil industry. Well, I'm in the gas and electric business. Yeah, I've heard horrible things about gas and electric. It doesn't matter. You pick an industry and people are going to find horrible things about it. Well, whatever kind of experience they've had, just ask them for their story. Just ask them what specifically they're concerned about or what they didn't like about the industry. And then have a talk, then just talk to them. Just have a conversation with them. And if they think it's a get-rich-quick scheme, well, just explain to them that it's really rare for anyone in our profession to get rich in a short period of time. Now, I say that, you guys, because we've had people in 3 to 5 years that have made more in that 3 to 5 year period than 90% of all people make in their lifetime. So you sit back and go, well, is that a get-rich-quick scheme? Well, it might be. Compared to traditional thoughts of working for somebody for the next 40 years, it's like, well, yeah, I guess it might be a quick, get-rich-quick kind of deal. Well, if they've been told that there's no work involved, it's like, people get in and, we don't really have to work. All we have to do is just add a little bit of water. I always say, well, they call it network marketing for a reason. And tell them, say, well, I work really, really hard to find, to have the success that I've had so far. So in other words, just tell them the truth. Don't argue with them. Just tell them the truth and give them realistic expectations. You don't have to be afraid to run into skeptics. You don't have to, be afraid or try to avoid people that you think are going to argue with you. All you have to do is hold a conversation with them. And if they're still skeptical about our profession, it's like, all right, that's okay. You can't make people believe in the profession. All you can do is educate them. Just educate them. All you have to do is educate them. It's been a very, very long time since I've had somebody kind of talk negatively about the network marketing profession. And I don't know if that's because I've always built relationships with people before I even mention the business to them. And when I build the relationship, they know what I've done. They know I've been doing this for 33 years. I've been doing it full time for 30. That freaks me out when I say that, you guys. I've been doing this thing for 30 years full time, right? And it's like, I tell people that. And I don't tell them that to try to recruit them at that moment. When we have a normal conversation and we're building a relationship, I want to know about them and they want to know about me. And so when I tell them this is what I've done for 33 years and this is the kind of success that we've had and we've been all around the world, and we've done this, that, and the other thing, and it's been absolutely amazing for me and my family. They're like, wow, that's awesome. And then once you get to know them, you provide a solution for a problem that they have, and it just so happens to be in the profession that you're in. Doesn't that sound easy? And people complicate it so much because they try to take that prospect and just shove the opportunity down their throat without building the relationship. And if you don't build the relationship, you're going to run into a lot of skeptics, a lot of people that, because listen, if I stood in front of you right now and I pushed you back, if I just put my hand on your shoulder and pushed you, you know what you're going to do? You're going to push back because you don't want to fall down. And that's what people do. They push back. So don't push them. Just talk to them and just educate them and get them to understand exactly what we do.